last season I was a Gragas jungle main,
Okay.
and I honestly didn't play that much ranked until about the end of the season, and I started at Bronze 5 and I got myself to Silver 5, but that wasn't really... and I mean, I saw improvement there, but I didn't really see as much as I'd like to, and I decided that as far as what rank I am, and just the fact that jungle is at least what I consider to be the hardest lane in the game, I figured it wouldn't be the optimal decision for me to main it at this low in elo, so I decided top is a little bit better because it's kind of like jungle in that way. It's a little bit more suited towards the bruisers and stuff like that. And I decided upon Shen and Malphite for my mains.
Okay. Well, so from like platinum and below, I think support is probably the hardest role to carry yourself through if you're just looking to climb. In my opinion, jungle is actually the best role if you're trying to just carry games because you can kind of snowball other lanes. You know what I mean? It's easier to if you're generally better than the other players to win games playing jungle because you can kind of help the lanes that are kind of behind a little bit. But top lane does top lanes, if you dominate, it's pretty much the same. I mean, if you can kill your lane quick, you can kind of roam around and help mid and jungle as well. So I would say top, jungle, mid. And AD carry is iffy because, again, you're reliant on your support quite a bit. And at the lower elos, it's a little bit tougher. So that's fine. Either way, top and jungle are just fine. But so you want to do Malphite and Shen. Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this session. And then I'm going to, I can post it on YouTube so you can just rewatch it if you ever need to, so you don't have to take notes now or anything.
Okay.
And then I can make it private if you don't want anyone to watch it. That's totally fine if you're worried about that.
Oh, no, I don't care. I mean, if I learn something out of this, maybe someone else can too, so there's no point in me trying to restrict other people from learning.
Okay. Yeah, and so this is my channel, by the way. I'll type it into the chat for you. And you can look at the other lessons that I've done too if you want from the other people who didn't care if it was public. There's been a Teemo only one, and then there's been a top lane only one. So we're going to kind of do a top lane focus. I am not a Malphite or Shen main, but I am a Teemo main. So I've played a lot against Shen and Malphite. And I have a pretty good understanding of pretty much all top lane champs through that. So instead of giving you kind of intricate details on how to play those champs, I'm just going to give you the kind of the general top lane mechanics so that no matter who you play, you should be able to dominate in the top lane. Okay.
Okay.
So just want to start. You're silver 5, right? As of the end of last season.
Well, I have 2 alternate accounts, and my main I got silver 5 on, and this is the part that really pissed me off. So I got my alternate accounts to level 30 towards the end of the season. I figured I might as well try the provisional, see what I get. And the first time I did, I got silver 3, and then the second time I did, I got silver 1. I was like, well, what the hell?
Yeah, it's kind of weird how it works, but that's good. You have an alternate account that you can use to just kind of play around and mess around with stuff. I do the same thing. I've got my main account, and then I've got a Smurf that I can try new champs, and I keep my Smurf around silver so that I can kind of start at silver, bring him up to plat, and then just kind of tank it back down when I try new champs. So that's kind of the suggestion I have for you. Just use your main account with the champs that you feel really comfortable with, and then use your Smurf account to just kind of try new stuff. That way you don't have swings in your MMR. On your main account. So is this your main account, LeroyJankeins?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So yeah, I can see you've been playing a lot of normals. So just kind of my first step in this lesson I want to do is go through your OPGG. So it's kind of tough because OPGG usually just kind of goes by rank stats. It's harder to find stuff going through normals. So my first suggestion and the reason my first suggestion is to only play ranked from here on out. Don't play normals anymore. I mean, you can play ARAMs or whatever if you want to have fun and kind of do stuff. But if you want to learn new champs, the best way is to just go play ranked. And you've already got 2 Smurf accounts, so you won't have to worry about dropping too far, even if you're bronze 5, because they're Smurfs, right?
And I don't really care that much about rank as much as I would rather stay exactly where I'm at, but progress in my knowledge of the game and how to play in leaps and bounds.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't want to take I've heard it before, like people talk about, if you want to get to goal or something like that, just pick top and bottom, just stay in those lanes and play support and top, and you can get yourself there pretty easily. But I'd rather learn about the game and increase my knowledge so that I have some sort of, I actually deserve to be in those rings instead of just kind of getting there from doing something easy.
Yeah, it's kind of the cheese tactic, right? It's like people. I used to do that when I was like first starting to play ranked back in like August of last year, and I just take Teemo and just AFK top, and I just push to the inhibitor, and then just keep myself warded. And it was really effective, but it was like really not good by the time I got to an elo where people knew how to counteract that. So I think doing the cheese tactics and playing like those kind of suboptimal strategies can only get you so far. So that's good. That you kind of want to learn early, kind of everything. So that's really good. So just judging by your season 5 stats here, I'm looking, and one of the major themes I see in your stats. Do you ever look at this and kind of study it at all yourself, or?
I don't go to OPGG for studying stuff like that. Like I'll go to my LO MMR just because it's a little bit easier for me to find my MMR there, and then I'll look at my match history and it tells me like my KDA was above or below average and gives me a solid layout of the game. But I haven't done that too much recently.
Okay.
And, also, the reason why I've been playing normals is because when season 6 started, I kind of decided to make that transition to top.
Okay.
And I was playing Rek'Sai to learn him and stuff like that, and with the new Shen up there, I was like, I probably shouldn't just like jump into ranked with a champion that's completely different from what I used to know. And so I was just kind of trying to build myself up to it. So I apologize. It doesn't really help that much with the OPGG, but.
Oh no, it's totally fine. But yeah, so just for your own edification going forward, just stop playing normals, because like it doesn't really, like in normals you're going to get a lot of players who just are just messing around like you and aren't taking it quite as serious. So just go into ranked, just even if you're playing a champ for the very first time. Like I just started playing Annie. Watch this. You're going to laugh at this. So I'm playing Annie against plat players, and what the hell is this site? Okay. I don't know what that was, so we're just going to use this. So I just started playing Annie, and you can see I've got a 60% win rate after 5 games. But look at my KDA; it's fucking atrocious. It's like I've got a 1, 3, and 7. I'm like 1 to 1 KDA. It's really really bad. So right now I'm taking my licks just because I'm like 1 in 10, 1 in 6. Like it's really gross. So my suggestion would be just go head first into ranked and forget about the normals, because you'll get, and use OPGG going forward, because this site gives you so many more stats to look at, and it's a little bit cleaner, and you can kind of judge not just kind of how you're doing with each champion. You can also go into the statistics and ranking pages. I don't know if you've seen this before, but these are really helpful. So in the new patch, for me, the first thing I do is I go into the game stats, and I'll go by win rate, and I'm playing in gold level right now. So I go last 7 days in the gold, like who's got the best win rate by champion, right? So if I want to know who to ban, I just look at the games played. So Graves is one of the most highly played champs, and he's got a huge win rate. So this is a huge ban for me. I always ban Graves, right? People ban Soraka, people ban Mundo, people ban Tom Kench, but after the new patch, they've all been nerfed. So they're not quite as OP as people think right now. So you'll probably see in the next couple of weeks people transitioning away from those champs and banning like the Graves. In my opinion, you should probably ban the Zed or the Lux, because you got quite a few games there and they've got a good win rate too. But that's kind of the appeal to the statistic page for me. You can kind of look at every tier if you want: win ratio, play ratio, ban rate. So it's all pretty cool stuff. And then rankings is good if you're trying to learn a specific champ. So if you were going to learn a Malphite, I would just go see what the top Malphite players in the world are doing with that champ, how they're building them, what are they using. So let's click on Malphite. And again, I'm on the rankings page. I go to Champion Masters ranking. And then you can see the top Malphite player in NA, Lockdown Exec. They're both Challenger Bayer. So let's go click on him. And then these guys might not be Malphite mains, but you can kind of see what they do. So he builds AP Malphite. You can kind of look at their game stats and see who they're up against. So he was a Malphite, and it looks like he was mid against the Zed. So Yeah, so he built full AP. Let's see.
Which is interesting because you'd think that you at least want like a QSS or something against the Zed just to try and nerf
Yeah,
his
so
damage.
some of the higher elo guys just use flash because that's pretty effective too. QSS kind of uses a slot that you may not want to use if there's only one opposing champion that has like a single player lockdown like that. Like if there was a Zed top and then like a TF mid, or like a Morgana or something, right? Like then it can make sense. But against this team, you got like a Rammus, you've got a Shen. So maybe like they've got a Lissandra, so it could have made sense if he wanted to buy because she's got some lockdown too. So, but anyway, so just kind of like going through some of the better players, I would suggest you do that because it can give you some insight as to how they build it. But there's two other websites, Champion GG and Pro Builds. Do you ever use these sites?
Well, actually, technically, I use Pro Builds. I found this. I don't know what the name of the app is. Hold on one second. I found this app, and it's LOL Builder, and
Okay.
it takes the Pro Builds, and it takes like the most popular builds, and I think it does like 100% build rate. Like most of the people build this in 63 and stuff like that, and they break down the builds into how they bought them and when they bought them and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then it puts it into your game as in the recommended builds section, so you can pick those out and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I mean that's helpful too. Just whatever like stats you can use just from what the pros are using, especially when you're first using a champ. Like first time I'm using a champ, I go straight to a Champion GG. I look at their runes and masteries, and I just kind of see what they're doing and why they're doing it, how they skill their abilities and etc. So that's kind of like your before game setup, in my opinion, is just kind of making sure you're in line because it's not really worth your time min-maxing things like changing a little bit of your mastery tree or changing these runes out. Like don't spend too much time thinking about that until you get above platinum. Like for me, honestly, I just use what the pros use and I just forget about it because it really doesn't matter, right? Like up until let's say like probably plat 1 or above, you can literally just use like a regular rune mastery page and just make sure your mechanics and your game knowledge is up to snuff and you'll be fine. So that's just from my experience. So let's go back to your page. How many pages back was it? All right, here it was. All right, so I do want to say the first thing I noticed about your page was your KDAs are not great, and they all have to do like your kills and your assists are fine. Your deaths are way off the charts high. So, like the nice thing about this is season 5. As you start to play ranked on this account, you'll get a new set of stats to look at. Make sure you start focusing every single game on how to reduce your deaths. Okay. 6 is your absolute max average, right? So like you don't have a single one of your top 7 champs that have below a 6 average KDA, which is not good, right? 8 is insanely high. I don't know how you win games with that, but you do, which is fine. But like below 6 is like above 6 is the red zone. Around 4 is like pretty good and optimal, and below 4. So between 4 and 6 is pretty good, but below 4 is where you want to be. So my main account, you can see I haven't played too many games yet on this account, but I've only got like my Teemo is atrocious because I had 2 games where I went like 3 and 10 and 6 and 8. So it'll skew back down, but you can see my Morgana, I'm at 3.5 kills. My Soraka, I'm at 4. I'm sorry, 3.5 deaths, and then Soraka's at 4. So I'm kind of in that zone that I want to be at, right? So I don't have that many kills or assists, right? 1.2, 14.8, but what gets your KDA up is your death count. So make sure you're just as focused as you can going into each and every game this season, only focused on not dying. So there's a few ways you can go about doing that, obviously, and that's just playing safer and then diving less, right? So it just seems like you kind of go in head first. And like, yeah, I mean, you're playing a tank, so you got to be at the front, but you got to learn how to play the tank and still survive, right? Like you got to go in, tank some damage, put some CC down, but then, you ult in with Malphite. That's great, but don't just stand there and just absorb everything till you're dead. Just start kind of kiting away, peeling, and let your, if they focus you, that's great, because then your carries can focus whoever the hell they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you see like multiple people focusing you, then you should start moving back. And as you move back, here, I'll draw this out for you. It's probably easier. So this is your Malphite right here, right? And this is like your little personal space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to see like, you know, all right, that's the enemy team. If you were to see pretty much everyone attacking you, their front line, their back line, right? You've got your team kind of behind you, right? So it's kind of like as your top lane tank, especially with Shen and Malphite, in a team fight, and we'll kind of get into this later, but I just want to point this out to you now. So in a team fight, you're kind of like the quarterback of a team fight, right? You're going to be dictating what happens in this team fight, right? Like if you start to move a little bit forward, all of your teammates are going to have to move forward too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they got to keep with their kind of front line, right? And then in return, some of these guys might start moving backwards. Some of these guys might miss position. And I'm sure as you're playing in the lower elos, you'll see a lot more of this. People just kind of diving to try and get to their back line. But what you want to do is make sure you're dictating the fight. So as you're taking this damage, right, start to move backwards, right? And as you start to move backwards, these guys will stay stationary, right, just for a moment, because they don't know you're clicking backwards yet. So the focus starts not to be on you, but the focus will be maybe to turn to these guys, right? Because they realize, okay, Malphite's super tanky, we're not going to kill him quickly. Maybe the jungler, maybe the mid laner who's out on the side here, they might be easier targets, so we'll switch, right? So that means you're going to be taking less damage, so then you can move back forward again. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense to you, all of this?
Yeah, try and proxy the damage a little bit so it's not all on me.
Yeah, and just kind of think about, it's cool. It's good to think about when you're not. It's hard to as a team fight's happening. Like that's only going to happen as you play more and more team fights. But start training yourself to try and be more conscious about everyone's position, everybody in the entire fight's position, and this scenario here is honestly not going to happen quite as much at the lower elos because people are just kind of monkeys. Like you'll have people, this guy will be over here, maybe this guy, maybe their jungler will be back with their support or something. You'll just have these 3 easy targets, right? So it's good to just be able to kind of know where everyone is in the team fight, how much damage you can tank, and then what you should do. It's a very simple process, right? Like, and this is what they do at the higher elo. It's just a very simple process of, where's my champ, what's my job, and then how do I maximize my job in doing that. And it helps to do that in game, but more often than that, I think you should be re-watching some of your games where you die, especially where you die, and then see exactly why you died, and then just kind of think about, okay, what could I have done differently, It doesn't take too long. I don't know if you have like a replay GG or if you've got like any kind of replay software, but those could be helpful. And then I just use OBS and just record my games that way. And then just kind of quickly when I'm done, stop recording, open up the VLC player and skip around to the parts where I was dying. And then I see, okay, what was my route like? How did I enter the fight? How did I die? What could have been more optimal? And if you get into the habit of that, it'll start to become like second nature, especially when you'll start to notice a lot of trends, right? Like for me, all I had to do was take one look at your OPGG, and I could tell you're just dying way too much in games, right? So that's an easy fix, and that's a clear issue. So the same thing will happen if you start to rewatch some of your games and rewatching your deaths. Maybe in game after you die, just go ahead and think about how did I just die and why did I just die, right? And if you get into that habit, after a while, you'll start to see a trend. It's like, oh God, I stayed in that fight too long. And like you die 3 or 4 more times like that, you're like, okay, 3 or 4 deaths in a row of me just staying too long in a fight. Next time I'm just going to leave the fight, right? A little earlier. And then after a while, you'll start to learn Shen and Malphite's kind of death range, right? You'll be able to tell how long they can stay in a fight, how long they can't stay in a fight, right? So again, those are just kind of things that you're going to have to learn over time, okay? Does that all make sense? Do you have any questions about that? Or?
Um, Not particularly. I've signed up for replay.gg, but I haven't used it that much yet, just because I just did it a couple days ago.
Uh-huh.
But and of course with normals and stuff like that. I mean, one of the things you're talking about with normals and stuff like that, no one takes it seriously. And like every single time I'm in a normals game, like someone will say something like, I'm not very good with this champion or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, it's normals, guys. Like we can win this without trying to worry about the meta, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, that logic can be extended to ranked as well through platinum. Don't think that like gold players are any better than silver players. Don't think that like low platinum players are any better than like high gold players. Like everybody is bad, right? Like everyone makes mistakes. Nobody really has a clear understanding of exactly what to do in every situation, or even builds, their team comp exactly, to benefit the entire team, right? Like I'm a Teemo main. I only play Teemo top, right? And that lends to almost, if you're talking about like LCS meta, like nobody plays Teemo because he doesn't fit in any kind of team comp. But that's fine because there is a challenger player who only plays Teemo, and it works because it's solo queue. We're not working as like a fives team. I mean, with dynamic queue, it's a whole other thing, but. It does. I mean, just forget about that. Like, just play your champ and play him the best you can. And if anyone even tries to give you like the kind of the bullshit of like, hey, that's just not meta. It's like, well, we're all at the same MMR bracket. Don't kid yourself, right? Like, it's just the best thing to do is just mute those people and just forget about it, right? Because within a couple of weeks, you'll probably be way higher up in the ladder than they are anyway, right? So. Just kind of forget about that stuff. So here, I'm going to give you this to OBS. I'll put that in the chat. So that is what I use. It's free. And it's literally what I'm using to record this session right now. And it's really, really simple. You just open up the client and hit record. And then you just hit stop record when you're done. And then you've got your video. It's great. And then the nice thing about that is it records your mouse clicks, right? Which is another thing that you should be focusing on. And we'll get into that. I'll hop into a game so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, but we'll get into that later. All right, so that was my main thing for you. OPGG wise, in this next season, stop playing normals, only play ranked, and secondly, focus on your death count. Okay, Try and keep that below 6 as much as possible, and then around 4 is ideal.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so let's move on. So, talked a little bit. So the first thing I want to get into is kind of your before game setup, your runes, your masteries, your hotkeys. So we kind of went through how to do your runes and masteries. Literally, just go to champion.gg or pro builds or that app you have, and that's totally fine. So I'm gonna open up a custom game real quick. Okay, let's create a game. Alright, start. Alright. Obviously, TP is better than Ignite if you're going top, even though it's kind of... TP's a little out of the meta right now with the games being so short and death timers being so high, but it's helpful at the lower elos, especially because you can TP into fights when people are tunneling in, and they'll just have no idea you're TPing in, and you can come in, ult everybody, and just turn a team fight like nothing. So it's good to have, and split pushing obviously it's good to have, I think, at the lower elos. But if you're maybe going mid, it's maybe different. But okay, so all right. So the reason I got into a game is I just want to make sure you're optimizing your hotkeys. So typically, so I usually, I don't like to take my hand away from the QWER keys or the mouse, right? Like, if I want to go back or if I want to buy from the shop, do you have those bound to B and P?
I don't have the shop bound to P. I just hit back and then click on the shop, but
Oh, that's incredibly inefficient. Okay, cool. So that's good. So these are things we're going to help you with today. So, all right. First things first. When you get into a game, while you're sitting in the fountain, you obviously want to buy your items, which is something I did not do. But the first thing you want to do, immediately open up the shop, buy what you're going to buy. By the way, I would really never buy that on Malphite. So let's go ahead and buy Corrupting Potion. All right, so buy what you want to buy. Put the potion in the slot you want. That's most comfortable. 2, 3, 1, 5, whatever. And then as that gate moves at 15 minutes, start moving your champ up to kind of wherever you want to go. So I'm going top lane. So as I'm walking there, I've got a good 20 seconds, right? During this 20 seconds, hit tab and move your guy, wherever it needs to be. Top lane is how I like to do it, in top, then jungle, then mid, AD carry, support. Okay? Do you ever do that? Do you line up your guy every time?
Yeah, I do the same thing, yeah.
Perfect. All right. So, obviously the reason you do that is twofold. One is so when you tab, you can easily see what the CS difference is, and you can see his items, right? Two really, really important facts that you need to know, right? So, secondly, you have access to your F keys now. So I don't know if you use F keys. Do you use your F keys? Like F1, F2, F3?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay, so this is another thing that I want you to start doing. All right, so I'm going to give you kind of a lot today, but it's going to be good because if you can start getting into the habit of doing a lot of this stuff, it'll make you a lot better going forward. Okay, stuff that I wish I started getting into before I got to platinum, so I can break these bad habits. So my habit now in top lane is I'm sitting up here, I'm farming, lane's going great. I'm trying to just kind of do my thing, but there's a skirmish happening in the jungle right over here. So I'd have to move my mouse away, kind of center it on the fight, and then hit spacebar to come back. That took probably 1 second, right? And it was a little bit inefficient. If I were to if you line them up right, the first slot is F1, second slot F2, F3, and F4, right? So you're in the top, so you don't really need one. So it would be F1 jungle, F2 mid, F3 AD carry, and F4 support. So if I saw my jungle was over here, all I'd have to do, I would hit F1, and it would jump me right in center on my jungler, right? So I can literally hit F1 in spacebar and be here and back that fast, right? And I can literally see, okay, what if I go like that and back, that took less than a quarter of a second. I got to see the health bars of my jungler. I got to see the health bar of the opponent jungler, and I can see whether I need to go down and help them or I can stay in lane, right? And same goes for bot lane, especially if you're going to take TP, right? If you've got your AD carry bound on F3, you can just quickly F3 spacebar just over and over and just see if there's a fight happening, a skirmish happening, if there's a ward quickly. As soon as you center on the AD carry, you see support here, you can just hit your teleport key, right? And just jump right into the fight, and it saves you valuable half seconds and maybe even full seconds, right? Because a full second allows my character, if I start walking, 1 second got me from here to here, right? And think about a TP. A TP takes a few seconds to come in. If your reaction time is 1 second quicker, you just saved this much distance. You know what I mean? So these are really small points, but they're really important, right? Because things that you don't think about, but they could save a kill. They could net you a kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think getting in the habit of just quickly doing F1 spacebar, F2 spacebar, just checking. All right, especially as a jungler, this is even more paramount because you look at the mid lane and you think, oh shoot, mid's pushing, and say this big wave was still here in the middle. You could say, okay, he's got a big wave, we've got a small wave. Mid's pushing in about 1 minute. I can tell these minions are all going to be here. The opposing guy's going to be here. I have time to do this camp, and then swing around this way, and then flash in and gank the guy, right?
Yeah.
So you can start thinking about that as top laner too, right? As your top, you shove to their tower. Say you're free farming. Say you're an AD carry or you're top or whatever, and you see that the mid lane is getting shoved in, and you just killed. Sorry, let's go to the top to make it simple. And you just killed the top laner. What you could do is shove all your minions to their turret and start walking down to mid lane, right? And in the 25 seconds it takes you to walk from top to mid lane, all of those minions will be now hitting the tower. This guy will be ripe for the ganking, and you'll be able to kill him quickly. Okay, so again, like, these are things you think about, and they're aided by the F keys, by usually using fractions of seconds to look at things, the diagnosing what's happening in each lane, and being back to your champion. Doing all of this in less than a second. And it's like really awkward at first. It literally like took me so long to get used to it. But now I do it really regularly, and it's helped me so much. So that's my first suggestion to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I don't want to kind of spend too much time on that, but second thing is I don't know what kind of mouse you have, but I have a Razer mouse that has buttons on the side of them. Do you have any buttons on the side, or is it just your left and right click?
Yeah, I have 4. I have the Razer Ouroboros, so.
Okay, nice. So you got a nice mouse. So I think what I did was I changed 2 things. So I just hit the E key. The reason I did that was I play Morgana a lot, and Morgana's E spell is her Black Shield. And what I did was I went into my hotkeys and I said, let's go to abilities, and let's go to self-cast spell 3, that's your E, to mouse button 5. So I've got 2 side mouse buttons that are right next to my thumb on the mouse. There's a front click and then a back click, and I think you probably have something similar, right? Mm-hmm. Right by your thumb. The front button is my mouse button 5. And so when I'm like in the heat of battle and I see like a blitzcrank arm going towards me, instead of having to move my cursor from where I'm trying to run over, like, you know, try and hover it over myself and then hit the E button, I can literally just hit mouse button 5 as I'm running. And I hit mouse button 5 and it throws that shield up right away, right? Mm-hmm. So my suggestion to you is just think about the champ you're playing, and if you've got something that you want to use super quick, like as you're running towards or away from someone, you can bind any one of the spells you need to that front mouse button, and it makes it like really easy to use quickly. Okay, just a little trick. Secondly, the back mouse button, that one's a little bit more natural to use, and I kind of use that more often. That I bound to my back key, so I can quickly, instead of moving my hand away from QWER, I just keep my fingers exactly where they're on the keyboard, and I just move my thumb back a little bit. It's just a quick way to back, right? Nothing has to move except for my thumb, and my thumb moves just a little bit. So that's another quick tip. I think that would be helpful for you to use. So that gets your B button freed up, because you don't. It's a little awkward. Like for me, my hands are big, but like to get my index finger over to my B button without taking my fingers off QWER, it's a little bit awkward. So I just kind of didn't want to use that. Like, in my opinion, if you're looking at your keyboard right now, TGV, those are like that little column of keys is really, really simple for your finger to get to, right? Without really moving it off of anything. So I prioritize those over everything else in terms of communication. So all of my communications, all of my pings, everything I use is close to where my fingers sit on QWER, so I never have to move either one of my hands. So I'll show you exactly what I do. And this is for communication. All right, so alert ping, I use T, right? So that's this, right? Let's target that. Let's get this turret. Let's defend this turret, right? That's my T key. It's right next to my ultimate, so it's just super easy. Second is I actually use, you just saw me do that. That's H, okay? That's my H key. It's, if you look at your keyboard, that's an awkward one, but since I kind of use that as you kind of only use that while you're laning, right? Like if you're laning against someone who's just disappeared, you don't necessarily have to have your focus completely on the screen where you're moving, all that stuff. So you can kind of take focus away and then just look down at your keyboard, and then hit the H key a few times. So I think that's acceptable to be kind of out of reach, right? That's naturally out of reach. So that's why I use that on my H key. Next is my G key. So that's another thing. Maybe when I'm in a team fight, or my G key is the ping away, the quick ping. So again, I don't have to look down on my keyboard for this because it's right next to my R key, and I just kind of, okay, this fight's bad, let's get the hell out of here. Or, you know, this guy's missing, and I saw him run down river, so I can just quickly ping, right? So I do one of these usually. So anyway, that's T, G, and H. Then I've got my V key, right? I'm on my way, so I usually just go here and go out. I'm on my way to blue right now, okay? And again, you never have to take your fingers off. Lastly, my C key. So if you take your index finger straight from R down to C, it opens up the shop, okay? And this is huge. You never have to ever click the shop ever again. So like literally, like, okay, I'm gonna recall, and I just click the C key while I'm recalling, that I can see what I want to buy, right? I've got enough for my my cinder. I can close the shop with C, open the shop with C. Don't have to click this stupid thing anymore. You know what I mean? Like, oh boy. Okay. That gets you to lane faster, but I highly suggest you don't do that. So yeah, I think those are like the main hotkeys for you. Okay, so T, G, H, V, and then C, right? And then your mouse buttons.
So as far as hotkeys go, I kind of stray away from most players in that I don't use DNF for my summoner spells. I use T and Y,
Okay.
and then DNF I have bound to my 6th and 7th slot on my inventory. Just so I put stuff like down there like the potion flask, and I'll put stuff like activatable items like Randuin's or something down there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, just do whatever you're comfortable with, to be honest. Like, the thing I don't typically really like about getting used to summoner spells that aren't in DNF is that when you learn other champs, I don't think you're going to play Malphite and Shen only for the rest of your playing career. It's like, for instance, I'm just thinking about Teemo. His combo is Flash Ignite, Auto Q Auto. So like, it's really kind of awkward if it's TY because you have to take your fingers off. Or like if you're like a Riven, right? Like you have to be able to use all of your spells. So like being able to Flash Ignite with DNF is a lot easier to move your fingers from DNF, to back to ENR than it is T and Y, right? Because like, I don't know, like if you get your middle and index finger on T and Y right now, it's hard to get your third finger to stay on W, right? Like that's a really awkward, unless your fingers are like freakishly weird. I don't know. Can you do that naturally? I don't know. But like whatever you're comfortable with is what I'm saying. You know, just keep in mind that, you know, sometimes with a lot of champs, you know, you're going to have different combos and different things that you have to do. So DNF, in my opinion, is the most efficient because it keeps your fingers close to the QWER. Also, the 2, 3, and 4, which are typically what your like, you know, your items are, right? Mm-hmm. So like items are static between champs, 2, 3, and 4, right? Like that's the most natural, and even 5 and 1 for some people. And then DNF are really natural too across all champs, right? But if I really wanted to like change all of my hotkeys to make it like super efficient for my Teemo, you know, like for me, like for Teemo, for instance, I'm just giving you that example because I play him so much. But his E is like it's an always on active, so I never hit the E key ever, right? Because I never have to. So if I change my E key to Flash, or I change my E key to like a potion, that would be like a lot more efficient for Teemo. But what that gets me to do is start to get used to hitting E for a potion. And what I get into, especially when I play a lot of different champs, you know, like back and forth, my brain, when I'm trying to do something really quickly, goes to like just reactively hit E for a potion, and then I might just like accidentally use an ability instead. Do you know what I mean? On like a different champ.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's why, in my opinion, that's why in the long run, it's not quite as efficient to stray away from items and your summoners away from the numbers and the DNF. But again, like that's just my suggestion. So whatever you feel most comfortable with. Okay.
Well, and I mean, I was just asking because I mean, I've had a lot of people who use DNF and TNY and stuff like that, and I was just wondering what your opinion is. I mean, I just kind of trained myself for TNY just because when I first started, it seemed like it was a little bit easier to reach over there because I have like super long fingers.
Yep.
But I mean, if it's, I mean, I was just wondering what you think would be most efficient because if I do DNF, of course, then it frees up T for those alert pings. Because I was thinking, well, if I have T, if I keep TNY, all right, I'll have to change like that T ping to my B key because that's the closest one there, and that kind of is in a comm and stuff like that. It's a little bit difficult, but
yeah, it becomes awkward. So like again, like it's you got to kind of prioritize, and in my opinion, as you get better at this game, pinging is going to be like your bread and butter. Like I can't tell you how many times I ping in a game because it's really important to communicate with your team, right? Like you should be pinging all the time, constantly. Like if you ever see the jungler on the map, even if it's like he's like farming by a ward, just ping it, right? Because your mid laner and your bot lane, you can't like trust that they're watching the minimap, and you should actually assume that they never do. And if you ping it, they'll look at the map. Like they'll be like, all right, someone pinged something. Why are they pinging it, right? And sometimes if you ping it once, they'll get the picture. Like I do that in like platinum and gold. Like just one ping usually gets the picture for them. But in silver, I've never really played bronze before. But even I've played low silver, and one ping never does the trick. You always want to ping at least 2 or 3 times, right? But don't think like, oh shoot, like I don't want to ping too much because I'll be annoying. It's like better to be slightly annoying, but like also give your team, like your team will appreciate the fact that you're like alerting to them to where the jungler is. Because if you see the jungler on bot side doing blue, you have like free reign to just be super aggressive up top, right? Because you know that he's not anywhere near you, right? And you can save a ward. Like if you're gonna ward, you've got like, this is like a very crude drawing of top lane, right? So like here's your top lane. Here's your tower, here's their tower. If you see the mini-map, jungler's down here doing blue, you can be like, oh shit, all right, well, I don't have to ward this brush here. You know what I mean? Like save your yellow trinket for another full minute, and then if the wave's still here, after 1 minute, throw the ward down, and you just got incredibly high efficiency on your ward, right? Like if you threw it down right away without looking at your map or even paying attention to where the jungler was, and he happened to be bot, you throw your ward down. 1 minute later, your ward dies. By that time, he's backed, bot, he's come top, and you have no idea. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that's kind of a lot of just general stuff that we got into. We touched on a lot, but that was everything that you probably need to know before the game begins. Okay. Does that make sense? You have any questions about what we just went over?
Hold on. Even though you said I didn't take notes, I kind of did it anyways, just to try and get that muscle memory in there.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's great, actually. Yeah, taking it serious.
I guess, so generally in my games, like if I'm playing a really high mechanics champion, like if I'm playing Riven or Lee Sin, and I used to main Lee Sin, and I decided, you know what, even though this champion is super fun, and it's like, even if you're horrible with him, it's easy to win at this elo, like, it's just stupid of me to play him at silver because I'm horrible.
Yes, agreed.
But I'm just like a horrible player in general. I accept that. It's fine. I don't play Riven anymore. I used to play Riven a ton, just like the top person in my masteries, or my champion mastery thing. I don't play her anymore because they're hard champions. Like it's stupid of someone in silver to play them. But like if I'm playing a champion that has that kind of mechanics-based mindset, like if there's a Bane or something like that, and I have to do that, I usually keep the camera locked on me, and then I'll drag it away and stuff like that if I need to check something or something like that.
So do you hold down spacebar or do you lock the camera?
I use C for lock, and then I'll just unclick it and then quickly click on the map where the other person is, and then click it back in, and it'll take me back. But from what you're talking about, that doesn't seem like it's very efficient. If I should just hold down the spacebar while I'm in lane, then just
if you're really comfortable having locked camera, just get in the habit of holding down spacebar. But you should never play with locked camera on ever. That's really inefficient because you lose so much vision by doing that, right? Like that's a very common mistake a lot of low elo players make. Like I saw this video on YouTube. I think it was LS who did this, but basically here's shit. Can't do it. All right, so here's like the bronze player's vision, right? There's a creep here. I'm looking at the creep. I'm going to kill the creep, right? There's a creep here. I just killed that creep. I'm looking at that creep. I want to kill the creep. There's a creep here, right? So that's kind of where you're at and where the bronze players are at. Silver players are, okay, there's a group of creeps here, right? I'm going to kill all these creeps, but I'm going to focus on this one. Once he's down, I'm going to focus on this one. Once he's down, I'm going to focus on this one, right? And then every so often, they'll look at their mini-map, right? Like if you assume this is your screen. Gold players, okay, here's the creep wave. Champion's over here. I'll stand over here. We'll do some creep. We'll kill some creeps. He'll kill some creeps. Maybe we'll do some trading, etc., etc. Maybe I'll look at the mini map once in a while, and I'll quickly do one of these. Oh shit! I'll quickly do one of these. Oh my god, I fucked it up again. Anyway, so I'll look from my champion and farming to I'll look to the mini map and I'll look back here. They'll do that every 30 seconds or so, and that's through gold. And I'm not joking. That's exactly how much gold players look at their mini map. Secondly, or once you get to like platinum, all right, I'm going to look at all the lane, and that's when you start to see the players. Okay, you know, I'm CSing, I'm trading correctly, I'm looking at the mini map. I'm CSing, I'm trading correctly. Maybe 5-10 seconds go by, I'm looking at the mini map. Trading correctly, 5-10 seconds mini map. So they do a little bit better job of keeping that vision. And then once you get into kind of your diamond elo, then it's all screen. Diamond and above, everyone's looking at their screen, everyone's looking at their mini map, and they're making sure they're pinging and keeping track of everyone. Everything's well warded. But even in low diamond, diamond 5, diamond 4, you've got the retards who just don't look at anything, and they just don't do as much as they should. But master tier, challenger tier players, the professional players, they look at their mini map between CS. Like another thing for you to note to take it to start doing right now in bronze and silver, every time you get a CS, like your auto attack animation for a CS or your ability animation starts to charge to do it. Like for me, my Teemo my dart, as soon as the dart starts to leave my champion, I quickly glance at the mini map and I look back, right? And that's for a last hit. So I'm looking at the mini map. Let's call it every 3 seconds, maybe sometimes more, sometimes less, right? But like I never go more than 5 seconds. 5 seconds is way too long to not look at your mini map. Okay, so I don't know what kind of routine you have now, but just to get into a habit of doing it, start to think about, I'm about to kill this minion. I'm about to get, like, you don't need to see the gold pop up, right? Like that's like, oh, it's fun to see the gold pop up, but what did that do for you? Absolutely nothing. So in that time it takes for your champion's animation to actually last hit the minion, whether you get it or not, it doesn't matter, right? Because if you missed it, you missed it. But if you got it, you got it. But your auto attack is going to happen no matter what, right? So all that time is kind of dead time. And it only takes a fraction of a second. So in that fraction, quick glance down, quick glance up. It's a fraction of a second. But it gives you a wealth of knowledge, right? It gives you so much information. It gives you a lot more lead time for when a jungler comes into your view, right? So does that make sense? Does that like sound like something you'd be interested in getting used to?
Yeah, I definitely would do that. I did hear from one person that, and I'll just see what your opinion is on this, but I heard from one person that in order to keep, kind of make it so that they looked at the minimap more, they set a metronome app on their phone, and they set it for like every 5 seconds, and every single time that thing hit, they would glance at the minimap.
Yeah.
Just to get used to it every couple
look,
seconds.
you know what? There's no wrong way to do it as long as you're doing the minimap. For me personally, I think having like a sound would like drive me insane. Like if I had to hear a sound every 5 seconds, it just would drive me insane. So for me, it's just easier to, and sometimes more frequent, to just like when I'm like last hitting stuff to just look at the minimap that way. But again, like if the metronome works for you, then use it. You know what I mean? Just do something is my point. Okay, there's no like it's like one of those things where people ask like how many wards do I buy in a game? It's like there's no minimum. Right, or there's no maximum, I should say. There's never been a game where I was like, man, I bought too many wards that game. You know what I mean? It's like You just buy as many as you can. There's no right or wrong answer. Actually, there is a wrong answer, 0. But there's no right answer, right? It's just as many as you can buy, and and trying to make them efficient. But even if you don't make them efficient, at least you're placing them down and getting vision for a little while. Because if someone kills a ward, at least you see them killing the ward. That's information, right? Information that you wouldn't have got if you didn't buy the ward. So I think, this goes along the same route as metronome or auto attacks. I'm just telling you what I use personally, and it's worked really well for me. And I'm telling you, so if we ended the session right now, just applying what we've talked about today will get you to gold, okay? And I'm not kidding. Just that. Your mechanics can be shit. Your game knowledge can be shit, right? But if you know where the jungler is, you avoid dying, and you just use what you know now, I promise you can get easily through silver into gold, because these kind of concepts are non-existent through silver, okay? And the point I'm trying to get across to you when I say these things is that, these games, you should not have any, anxiety or issues in these games. These games are, nobody's good until, high platinum, in my opinion, okay? So, and even then, it's, few and far between. So just don't even worry about, this guy's gold, this guy's plat, this guy's the high silver. It doesn't matter, right? You just got to focus on yourself and how to get better. Okay, so so far we've gotten through. I know we've already been talking for almost an hour, but we've gotten through kind of your before game setup and a couple of other kind of tidbits. What I want to shift over now, though, is kind of talking about the top lane in general and kind of breaking down new champs, right? You can read patch notes, you can watch YouTube videos and read Reddit or whatever, but I think the best way to do it is, before you do all of that, try and deconstruct and reverse engineer the champ yourself and think about it critically, right? So new Shen, new abilities, try and look at why they made the champ the way they did and what the best, most optimal use of that champion is, right? So think about a champ like Caitlyn. Can you run AP Caitlyn? Yeah, I can buy a fucking death cap on on Caitlyn and try that and make the traps hit like a truck. But is that the most efficient? Absolutely not, right? Because her kit scales with AD, and if you were to go the AD route, you would just get more efficiency from that champion, right? So every champion can be built every single way. But what's the best way? Why was the champ made in the game, right? Same thing goes for Soraka, right? If you were going AD Soraka, yeah, it's possible, but it's kind of pointless. You know what I mean? There's no reason for you to do that unless you're just messing around. So every time you go through a new champ, read about his passive, read about, just go into your little thing here and be all right, I want to play Shen. I haven't played Shen in a while. I don't even own Shen. This is my Smurf. I have 10 champs on this account. Where is he? All right, so we'll just go into this, and this is even helpful. Okay, he's got a lot of defense, so I'm not gonna try and play AD carry with him, right? I could try, but it just doesn't make any sense. So some of the things are really obvious, and then some things just aren't as obvious, like how to be super efficient. But anyhow, let's read about his Q, his W, his E, his R, and think about, okay, what does this ability do? What is it? Is it an AP ability? Is it an AD ability? This just kind of gives you the little video that's helpful if you're absolutely trying to learn the very basics. But I would say kind of go to a website I think, does Champion GG give you the details? No. Maybe it's Pro Builds. Maybe not. I don't know. You could probably go to just the WikiLol or whatever, and it'll give you a real. Actually, that's a great site. I don't know if you use that at all, but have you ever used that? Oh wow. Okay. So it's the League of Legends Wikipedia page, and this page is incredible. It literally gives you. So let's just. I'm just gonna. Where's the search? Here it is. So let's just look for Shen, right? So you just search for Shen, and it literally gives you the same. Actually, you could probably just skip the league client and go straight to this, but it gives you so much information. So again, like your base health, your base regen, like you can get lost in this stuff. So this is the cool part about it here, is it gives you your cooldown, and then some like extra details. So like the cost per level, kind of give you some details so we can see that this scales with AP, right? 0.5% per 100 AP. So building AP will lend to your Q, right? It scales your Q higher. Gives you your 3 to 5% plus 100 AP, 1.5% per 100 AP magic damage, and then it can get an enhanced magic damage, right? Depending on how you use the spell. So this is a great way to kind of break down a new champ, right? Your taunt, your shadow dash, right? Cool thing about it is other people come in here and give you like all these little quick tips, you know. Spell vamp is reduced to 1/3 effectiveness when you do that, right? Like things that you might not have never known about your champion. So this is a very, very helpful website. It's the League of Legends Wikia. Again, I'm going to put this in the chat for you so you have it. And then what's also super helpful is like for items, so like, how do you spell Rylai's? Jesus, there it is. Okay, so when they did the rework on Rylai's, I was like, all right, I need to learn about this. I came straight here, and it gives you like it gives you all the information you need, right? So the passive, okay, wasn't really sure like how does it work with single target area effect damage over time, 40% for a second and a half at single target. Okay, 1 second for just area effect. Okay, cool. So this is helpful to know, and kind of gives you the patch history of like what was it when it first started and where is it now. It's just really just trivia, but then you've got like people talking about it. So anyway, it's just I'm giving you all this stuff just so you know that it's available. But huge site, very helpful. I suggest you use it often. But my point is, you want to kind of deconstruct the champ and then think about critically like what it takes to play the champ and what I need to do with it. You know, most of them, it's like general knowledge. I mean, I know Shen's a tank. Everyone knows Shen's a tank, and you don't play him like an AD carry, but it's just helpful to kind of deconstruct all champs so you know. So you like literally and physically know yourself, right? Like it's one thing to like, okay, I watched a video where this guy said this, right? But then maybe I watch a video where like, you know, should I build a tank Malphite or should I build an AP Malphite? Well, I just watched 2 YouTube videos that told me like, you know, tank's better than AP and AP's better than tank, and you know, which one do I do? And if you understand the champ like really, really well, you know, you'll be able to answer those questions yourself without having to rely on other sources. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so that's just kind of my suggestion on how you break down your champs. But it seems like you already kind of know Malphite and Shen and what they need to do generally, so that's fine. We won't have to go into that. So,
Actually,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just had a real quick question about something you mentioned a little bit earlier. You were talking about the no word maximum, and it actually brought to my head a question that I was going to ask and I completely forgot about. I have seen like beyond nigh countable amounts of people in top lane, and first back I usually like I'll get the items, and then whatever leftover gold I'll buy health pots. And I used to like buy health pots and I buy a green word, but I kind of stopped the words after they removed the green words. I was wondering if it would be better if I bought as many health pots as it would get me down to like 75 gold, and then bought a vision word and put that there in the top lane, buy that in that bush. If that'd be something that'd be really efficient to do, or. Okay,
so. All right, so say we're on blue side. All right, so say we're on blue side. We leave lane with, 800 gold. We buy boots. We buy another Doran's shield or something. Or we buy a Doran's shield boots. That leaves us with 100 gold, right? So you can either buy 2 pots, right? Or you could buy 1 vision ward, right? In my opinion, it's very situational, and you got to think about it like what's happening in my lane, right? If I'm winning my lane and my minion wave is typically on his side a lot, and he's usually on tower. I'm usually the one aggressing. I will always go for the Vision Ward, right? Because I want to put the pink here. There's no way that he can come and destroy it, right? The only one who could do that would be the jungler, and then I'd see him coming to do that, right? And usually when he's got to this point anyway, that means he's coming to kill me, and I can immediately run back, right? So the efficiency you get from a pink ward here when you're winning a lane is huge, right? On the flip side, if you're over here all the time, right? If you're always the one on the defensive, and usually melee tops are on the defensive unless you're against another melee top, then the pink ward here is kind of a waste, right? Because the jungler can only gank you from two ways. He can come this way, which is kind of weird, right? Like, unless they're tower diving you, like that's, and you're probably never going to get dove at the low elos, and if you do, it's usually not going to happen correctly, right? Or they can come through the lane. Either way, you're going to see them coming from a mile away. Wards aren't as helpful, so I would spend the money on the pots in that situation. Does that make sense? Because that gives you more sustain. You could sit there and free farm, try and freeze the wave right here, and then just farm forever, right? He's either got to break the wave, he's got to break the freeze, or he's got to go leave and do something else, right? Or else he's just going to it's just going to be a farm fest forever. Because if he stays here for like more than 30 seconds or a minute, as soon as this is frozen, as soon as you get a freeze here, you start pinging for your jungler to come gank. And if he's smart, he's going to get the hell out of there, go take golems. And again, this is something that you'll never ever see. at even gold. At gold level and below, you'll never see this because this is kind of a higher level tactic, but it's the smart play of the lane's frozen. You have two options. You either break the freeze or you get the hell out of there and gank mid or take scuttle or take golems, whatever you want to do, but never stay here because that's the worst option because you're just easily gankable. Even with the flash, it's kind of dicey, right, to get out of there safely. So again, like if someone's staying there, overstaying, like if you've got this frozen and you see he's not going anywhere, you can just be like, dude, just come up top, jungler, and let's kill this guy. So that's kind of the mindset into your extra money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Actually, I'm really glad you talked about it that way because so many people have told me how to freeze a lane.
Yep.
And legitimately, no one has made any sense whatsoever in way or form.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you could just give me like specifically exactly what I would have to do to freeze the lane. Because
So-
like as far as I know, it's just like
The last portion of this lesson will be, I will be hammering you with specifics. Like, okay, when this lesson is over, you will know exactly, like my main point of this lesson is going to be wave management for you. So not only are you going to know how to freeze a wave, but you're going to know how to push and pull a wave and exactly, how kind of minion movements work. So if anything else at the end of this, you're going to know everything you need to know about top lane and wave management. And really, it's not just top lane. It's if you can understand wave management. Like the funny thing for me is like I started out as a top main and then I started playing support as a secondary role when I couldn't get top. And the funny thing is to see how many AD carries have no idea about wave management. It's ridiculous. Like, they shove a wave into us, and instead of freezing it right in front of our tower, they just, they think, oh my god, like I got all these minions here. They just walked away to back, or they walked away and just stood here. The enemy team did. So I'm going to get as many CS as I can before they start harassing me again. And then they shove the wave back here, and then the other enemy team freezes it in front of their tower, and then we're completely fucked, right? So like, it's just funny to me how few people at really any elo, not just like the low elos, think about wave management. But it is every single lane. It is imperative that you know it, and that's why I want to make sure in your first lesson that you learn about it. So don't worry about that. We'll get to that, and I'll beat this into your brain as hard as I can. Trust me.
perfect.
All right, so let's move on. I'm going really slow here, sorry, but I just want to make sure you understand all this. All right, so we've got the before game setup. When you actually get into a game, when you're in the loading screen and like that screen with all 5 champs, then all 5 champs, you know what I'm talking about, like the load screen? When that pops up, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing? Are you thinking about the game at all?
Sometimes I'll sit usually for about a minute or two. I'll sit there and I'll look at all the champions, figure out what their roles are, or at least try and figure out what their roles are. Sometimes it's impossible in silver, but
Yeah.
and I try and just see like, okay, so that's the person I'm against, that's the person the jungler is against, mid, ADC, support, stuff like that, and I try and kind of work that out. And then after that's done, I kind of just let it go. And sometimes I'll just I'll find a good music mix or something to play too, just to try and I don't know, give my subconscious something to work on. So, cause I have a little bit of ADHD and it's hard for me to focus on one thing, so I need a couple of things trying to keep me zoned in.
You know what's like actually,
you know
what's interesting? I think I don't have ADHD or ADD, but like I've always thought about this. It's actually interesting. Like, if I had ADHD, maybe I'd be better at this game because like you're never supposed to focus on one thing at one time, right? Like in the game, if you're focusing too much on like the minion wave and farming, like you can focus super micro on just this portion of your screen. And obviously it's bad because like there's a micro game and a macro game, right? So sorry, we're getting off topic again. You gotta stop doing this to me. All right, so
sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. So all right, so there's a micro game and a macro game, right? So the micro game is what's happening here, okay? The macro game is what's happening literally everywhere else, right? So you can literally, and I catch myself doing this sometimes too, because the micro game comes into play like big time at the higher elos, right? Because people are always thinking about how do I get a kill in lane, or like you're literally fighting like tooth and nail. People are thinking about how do I just get these minions, right? Like it's not as easy at the lower elos, and this is stuff that you maybe not have to think about now. I just want to tell you so you know that this mindset exists. But in my games, I'm thinking, okay, I need to get these CS, right? I need to make sure I last hit each and every single one of these. But the problem is I have an enemy opponent, and I have myself, and for me to get this minion here, I have to walk up closer and try and attack it. And in the meantime, he might come this way and then auto-attack me while I'm auto-attacking this, right? If that were to happen, I would get an immediately lost trade, right? There would be a trade that happens. I attack this, which means I don't have time to attack him. And as I'm attacking this, he's attacking me simultaneously. I lose health, right? And just, if you think about theoretically, just that one instance, if we were to start trading against each other and we had the same damage, I'd die, right? Because he got the first hit, and then if I hit him back, he'd hit me back. If I hit him, he'd hit me back, right? And we'd lose power, we'd lose health at the same amount until one of us dies, right? And if we're level 1 and do the same amount of damage, I would die first just because he got a favorable trade-off because I was going for this minion, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the things that people think about at the highest level. So they think, okay, as soon as I hit this minion, he can just pretty much all in me and kill me if we had equal damage. So I literally have to hit this minion and get out of there. Or if I know that I can't hit this minion and last hit it without him getting a favorable trade on me, I just won't get that CS because I know I'll die, right? Mm-hmm. So these kind of things that I think about in the laning phase, it takes kind of a lot of energy and focus to like make sure I'm understanding which of these minions are even available for me to hit. So like if I can't go for this one and he's trying to posture in for the counter engage, if I see him moving that way, maybe I'll start to move this way and I'll take this creep instead. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like these are the mind games that you kind of start playing at the higher elos. Obviously in the lower elos, this kind of shit, it does not matter one bit, right? Like you can freely farm and he's not even worried about your minion power, health bars. He's not worried about where you're standing in the lane, etc. That's the micro game, right? And if you focus too hard on the micro game, you're going to lose track of what's happening everywhere else, right? So the good players can focus on all of this at a very high level, and then also focus on all of this at a very high level, and that's really, really tough to do. Okay. So anyway, I don't know if that answered your question or not, but.
No, it did. I mean, not no, isn't like no. It did help. I mean, I've always kind of wondered exactly which kind of what it's gonna. I don't really know how to explain this. Like whether they focus more on the everything more than they do on the micro, or if whether it's like which one is kind of higher prioritized. I guess it's kind of equal though, or at least
it should be equal. I mean, it's kind of lane dependent, but like we're talking like 50-50 for top lane. Maybe actually I'll say let's call it 50-50 for mid lane, right? 50-50 split between micro and macro. Maybe a 60-40 split in the top lane, 60 being the macro, 40 being the micro. In the bot lane's probably 60-40 or 40-60 the other way, where it's like 60 to 70% micro and then 30 to 40% macro, right? So, and then the jungler's like 80-20, with the 80 being macro and the 20 being micro. Got it? Does that make sense? How I broke that down?
Yeah.
And the whys? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's kind of how that breaks down in terms of how you want to keep your focus. Okay? All right, so let's move on. So let's talk, okay, so ability maxing, again, like this kind of stuff you can just get from your pro builds in OPGG. But let's talk about general laning, okay? Now, shit, we've gone an hour and 11 minutes. I'm not going to be able to get through, unfortunately, because I got to go pretty soon, in 20 minutes. I know you asked about wave management, so I'm going to do that now. And then if you want, if you feel like you got like some good information out of this lesson and you want to do a second lesson at any time, go ahead and just, fill a slot, okay? And then we can kind of go through everything else. But there's like so much information that I have for like the first. I've only been coaching for like 2 weeks or so, so like trying to figure out how much I should put into like each lesson. I'm still trying to like kind of go by trial and error. And there's like so many things we kind of go off on tangents with that like my first lesson usually takes an hour, but that's like without questions, right? So anyway, that's kind of TMI anyway for you. But the point is that if you want to get a second lesson set up at any time, it's no big deal, no problem. And I'll go through like general laning, and that's trading. That's like your trading stance. That's your retaliation trades. That's your lane control. That's going to go through kind of just everything you need to know, ranged against ranged, ranged against melee, melee against melee, all that stuff. And then we'll go through like itemization and things like that. But the last portion of that is actually the wave management section. And I kind of want to go through that with you first so you can take that away on this lesson, okay? So let's start with wave management. All right, so I'm going to give you a scenario. All right. Again, we'll go with yellow, and we'll go with red. All right, so we are LeroyJankeins on blue side, and then this is me on the red side. All right, so we're in lane. Here's my minion wave. Here's my minion wave. Here's your minion wave. Here's Leroy. Here's me. All right, so we're laning. You hit your level 2 spike first, and you kill me. Okay, I'm no longer there. I'm back at base. Okay. As soon as you kill me and you hit your spike first, your wave has shoved now to about here. Your wave is here. My wave just came in and crashed here, and this is kind of where the minion wave is at. Okay, but I'm dead, and I'm going to respawn in about 5 seconds. What do you do in this situation? You tell me what you would typically do.
Well, what I would typically do is push the turret, but from what you've told me, because it'd be very easy for you to freeze the lane there, depending on what the jungle camps are, like if Skull's up or something like that, to back off and let the minions try and passively push back to the center or even further towards the opposite end of that kind of that little bridge. I'm pointing at my screen so if you can see it, but I'm pointing at the little rock, basically the exact opposite on my end
right here
where those minions are now.
Right here.
A little bit back behind that.
Right
like
here.
Right in front of.
Oh, yeah, right here. Okay.
And then let the minions push that passively and go take Scuttle or Yank Commit or take the Ground. I always want to call it white. Something's wrong with me.
Oh, no, that's old. Yeah, so look. So remember, we're on the blue side. That's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is you. So think about, let's just start really, really high level. Just like a 30,000 foot view of what you want to do in your lane, okay? Here's the ideal scenario, especially with Malphite and Shen, okay? What you want at all times is your lane to be frozen right here, okay? You want the minion wave to be just outside of turret range, okay? And if you could permanently keep your wave here, that is ideal. So at all points in the lane, you want to do everything possible so that your lane always ends up here, okay? You don't want your lane to be anything in this portion. That means your lane's in the wrong spot, okay? So with that in mind, okay, we have our lane frozen here, okay? How do we get the lane from here to here? Okay? 2 ways. One is we can literally never last hit ever and just stand back here and wait until it passively, pushes back. But that's pretty inefficient, right? The best way to do it is to, especially now that we have the information that I'm out of the lane, passively pushing is going to take quite a long time. It's going to take probably 2, maybe 3 waves, and in that time, I'll be back to lane, much quicker, and it'll be, I can probably freeze it right here, right? So that's kind of inefficient. Best way to do it is you kill all of these minions, and you shove the wave into the tower, okay? You let the tower take care of all the minions, because what that does is that makes sure that I don't get any of that XP or gold, right? Meanwhile, you're getting all of the XP and gold that you got from shoving the wave, right? What'll happen is my wave will come, the tower will kill all the minions, and the wave will kill all of our minions, and we'll get a reset back to just about here, okay? So when you shove a wave to tower and another wave comes and the wave kills everything, because it's stalled for a minute just to kill all of our minions, it won't reset right in the center. It'll reset just off the center to kind of the front edge of this bush, okay? It's very important. It's very important to know that, by the way, because just getting a reset like that won't keep you in safe territory. Like if you come back to lane and I've come back to lane and frozen it right here, that's bad, right? But the nice thing is it's not static, okay? It's never going to be exactly in this one spot. It's always pushing, it's always pulling, right? As I last hit my minions, you're last hitting your minions, right? So it could freeze if we're last hitting at the exact same time, right? But what you want to do is you want to make sure that if it's in an unfavorable spot, that I'm pushing harder. And this is the thing, by the way, all of this stuff is things that your opponent's not going to know. So a lot of times they're blindly just attacking minions, right? So if they're not just absolutely at the last second, last hitting, and they're like literally just hitting at full health and just trying to get as much CS as they can, which at your MMR bracket is what I tend to see the most, is people just blindly attacking their minions. Let them do that, and you just last hit, like very, very, like as last hit as possible, right? What's going to end up happening is not very slowly. It's going to be literally 1 to 1.5 waves. You'll have the wave shoved to back here, okay? And when this happens, what you're going to want to focus on is freezing it, okay? How do you freeze a wave? Let's go into paint. All right, so how do you freeze a wave? This is very important information for you to understand right now, is 4 caster minions, okay? 4 casters is all it takes for a permafreeze, okay? Permafreeze, okay? And what that means, that is really atrocious. Okay, so that says permafreeze, I swear to God. 4 minions, that says 45, I can't even type. Minions for permafreeze, okay? And that's on top of That's on top of the wave. So you've got, or I've got, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. So these are your caster minions in the back row. These are your melee minions in the front row. And we pretend that we are right in front of our turret, right? Like this is our turret here. And then way off in the distance is my turret. But we're trying to set up a permafreeze, right? But since we were just last hitting and they were hard shoving is what we call it, when they aren't last hitting, they're actually hitting minions at full and medium-sized health, right? That's called a hard shove, okay? We're last hitting, which means we're waiting for our minions to get to very, very tiny health, and then we hit them, get the last hit. So if he's hard shoving and I'm last hitting, it won't take very long for us to get in front of our tower where we want it. And what's going to happen in that scenario too is he's going to have a whole bunch of other minions because he's got his last wave and he's got his incoming wave, and we've just got our incoming wave. So our incoming wave crashed into his big blob of minions, and I'm sure you've seen this many times before, and it's right in front of our tower where we want it. So we see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 caster minions and 3 melee minions. So essentially what you want to do is you now want to kill one of the casters, right? And make sure you have 4 casters at all times at full health, okay? So then you can either, if he's still hard shoving, and this is kind of a more advanced concept, but here, let's do the eraser here. Fuck. Let's do the eraser. I just want to make this a little cleaner. Okay, this is still kind of gross, but all right. So
eraser's really efficient.
I know this is. I'm really not doing this as best I can, but all right. So let's go back to the brush. All right. So what's going to happen is this is a pretty advanced concept, by the way, is he's going to be still maybe hard shoving, right? But if you see him hard shoving and trying to kill all of you, fuck. So I'm going to be hard shoving, right? And if you see me trying to kill all of your minions really fast, that's your green light to kill all of his minions really fast, okay? While ignoring these 4 melee minions, right? Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm trying to? Do you see what I'm doing here? Like, I'm just trying to now mirror his attack speed, or like a speed of killing minions, at the same time keeping these 4 melee minions alive. Because what's going to happen is these 4 melee minions, as long as they're untouched, they're also going to be attacking your minions. And as soon as I kill all of yours, you're going to kill all of mine, and these are going to stay alive, but my next wave is going to come in and crash with his next wave, right? So it's going to reset, right? But as long as you have these 4 melee minions, it's going to be a perma freeze, right? And the reason we keep these as a perma freeze is because if he's smart, and most of them won't be, but like we talked about before, say we've got our lane frozen right here, and he decides this is too dangerous for me to stay here, and he goes and tries to kill that and thinks, okay, by the time I go and take Gromp, or I go and take Scuttle, by the time I come back, the lane will probably be right back here. No, because we've set up a permafreeze, right? Which means those 4 caster minions, if nobody else is in lane and it's literally just you, 4 caster minion waves, it's literally just you. Think about if I went into a custom game right now and I practice last hitting, like what that does is it slow pushes the wave, right? Because you're last hitting, and they've just got minions. You understand that, right? That concept of slow push. So if it's just you by yourself, even minions, every single wave you slow push, right? Slow push, slow push, slow push. Eventually you're going to get to the next wave, but while you're slow pushing, your wave gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Because every time you kill one of their waves, even if you're last hitting, you 1 or 2 of your minions survive. So wave after wave, you're growing 1 or 2 minions, right? Until you've just got this monstrous wave. Do you understand that concept?
Yeah, because slow pushing it just kind of like, it's last hitting their minions, so my minions stay alive, because I'm there to protect them, and at the same time, like, their minions are dying. So as I kill one of their waves, when the next one comes, they're crashing into 2 waves of mine. And then after I kill that, they're crashing into 3.
Exactly,
and 4.
exactly. But it's not going to be a full wave, right? Because their minions are going to kill some of them. But it's kind of exponential, right? Because the bigger your wave gets, the faster they kill the enemy wave, right? So then it just becomes this massive blob. So my point is, you need extra minions on his side permanently to keep a permanent freeze on your side. So every time you last hit, it evens out, right? So like your last hitting is equal to those 4 melee creeps. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's how you keep a permanent freeze. So if he makes the mistake, if I make the mistake of leaving lane, thinking that like I can just do some jungle shit and then come back, if I leave lane with those 4 creeps still alive, and all you're doing is last hitting, by the time you last hit my wave of 6 creeps, and your wave of 6 creeps dies to his minion wave, what's going to be left? 4 melee creeps. That's like the magic number, okay? So does that concept make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you now kind of understand how to freeze a wave?
Yeah, I get it. It's a little bit easier. I mean, it's basically just kind of what I thought, but wasn't really connecting almost.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean,
that makes sense.
You just need to understand first how these minions move, like in general, and then you got to understand what your effect on the wave is. So like if I'm here and you're here, and our effect is equal and we're mirroring each other, this wave goes nowhere. We don't need extra minions, right? We just need to you just need to attack the minions the exact same amount that he needs to attack the minions, and it's a permafreeze, right? But as soon as he lets up, or as soon as he leaves, then you need to get that advantage. So what I suggest always is to keep the freeze. If he's attacking your minions, try and attack his minions slightly less aggressively, right? Which means you're going to leave maybe 1 or 2 of my minions still alive. So by the time your wave next comes and my wave next comes, we have the makings of a permafreeze, right? So just try and get to a point where you've got those extra 4 melee caster minions. And I'm just giving you the theory about this now so you understand. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you in practice, and I'm going to start to drill this into your brain. So this is my YouTube page. I sent you a link to it. And these are all the videos that I've uploaded to YouTube, just kind of random games. So like you can see I've got a Silver 2 game when I first got placed out of placements. Then you can see me kind of like gradually moving up, Gold 3 into like I think I have a Platinum game here somewhere. Yeah, Platinum. So this lesson is with Jeb Porkins. This was a top lane lesson, so this could be a cool one for you to watch too. He plays Malphite as well. And then Timo Nojutsu, he's a Timo main. So these are 2 lessons you can watch if you want. Just wanted to point that out. But what I want to do right now, just to kind of show you like real live game examples of wave management, is let's go into one of these Darius games. So let's go into this Gold 4 Darius game where I played Timo, and I was playing against a Darius in the top lane. Okay, so this isn't the best resolution, but just bear with me. All right, so this is the minions are crashing. It's level 1,
that's fine.
right in the middle. He's in the brush right now, and I'm doing the standard Timo cheese of getting a free few attacks in out of stealth if he doesn't see me there. But I take damage and lose that trade because that was unfortunate. Like usually they're not in this brush, they're over here, so I can get free damage, but I had to tank that anyway. Here's an example of a melee versus a ranged, right? So Timo wins this lane really, really hard. Okay, like I'm set up to win this lane really, really hard. As long as he can't get anywhere near me, I will win this lane. So first thing I want to do, and the first thing you want to do, is hit level 2 first. Okay, how many minions does it take to hit level 2? Do you know?
I want to say 8.
Close. It's 7. So it's the entire first wave, and then it's the first minion of the second wave. Okay, and that's all else being equal. So if you aren't taking like the small Gromp or the blue buff small minion. By the way, if you take the blue buff small minion, or you take the Gromp, small Gromp, depending on what side you start on, if you're able to take one of those, it only takes you 5 minions. This is important, so I don't know if you want to write that down or remember that, but 5 minions if you are able to take one of those 2 buffs, and then 7 minions otherwise will get you to level 2. And the reason it's important to take one of those if you can, it's very optimal, is that you can surprise level 2 cheese the opponent. They won't see it coming and they'll miss position. The difference is at your elo you don't have to worry about that. But most people like gold and above will know that it takes 7 creeps. So anyway, my point is now you can see me. I'm attacking these guys. I'm not trying to last hit. I'm trying to attack as much as I can. Him first and then creeps second. Okay, so he's out of range now. I'm back to farming. So you can see I've got 3 melees and he's got 2, which means I've got 1. You can already see my wave is building, right? Like we're setting up a slow build on this wave, right? So we're hard shoving. See now this is an example of a hard shove. I've got my 3 melees, my 3 range, and I've still got 3 ranged creeps in the background for my first wave, and his second wave is crashing now. You see that? So I've got 9 minions. He's got 6, right? So right off of this creep, when this dies, I'm going to hit level 2, and I'm going to try and attack him right away. So as soon as I hit level 2, I get an auto and I get my Q off, and I can see, because I've been counting, that it's still going to take him 4 minions, right? It's going to take these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, it's going to take 3 casters, or really 4 minions in total, for him to even hit level 2. So I've got an advantage for quite some time. So my job now is to zone him out of the lane so that he can't farm at all, or leech XP if I can even help it, right? So if he comes forward, my job is to poke him and get him the hell out of there so that he can't get any gold. And then if I can push him far enough, he won't even be able to get to level 2 because I'm zoning him out. So you can see, now that I've hit level 2 and I've got to where I've got too big of a wave, right? So if he was smart, what would he do now?
He would.
What would you do if you were Darius after what we talked about?
Kill 2 of the caster minions, try and keep the other. So 2 of them the lowest health, and keep the other 4, try and keep them healthy, and then try and freeze it at the turret.
Exactly. So the thing is, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minions here. That's too many minions, right? So what I want to do is I want to kill this guy because he's low, both melee creeps, and then probably like this caster creep. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's this creep or a full health one. Just make sure all you're left with is 1, 2, 3, 4 melee, caster creeps if you're this Darius. You get the 4 caster creeps, and then my wave shoving in along with this wave that's about to come, and that's equal to permafreeze. But even in gold 4, he doesn't do that. What is he doing now? He's literally sitting in that brush trying to, like, I don't know what he's doing, trying to cheese me or something. All I do is walk backwards, which is what I should have done, but I didn't. I kind of ate that, but I still got some free damage on him. So now that these guys crashed, right? Like, this is like a full wave, and then this is his full wave. But I've got another full wave coming, so this is bad, and I know that. So this is what you want to do when you're winning a lane and dominating a lane like this, right? Which you might not be doing much as Malphite or Shen, but it's good for you to know because you might be playing against someone like this, right? So what's going to happen is as soon as we get our advantage and we start to slow push, if the minion wave passes this point here, call it like the middle of this brush, like where these minions are, turn to hard shoving this into the tower, right? Like you want to hard shove into the tower, let the tower kill a lot of these creeps because he's going to miss CS that way too. And what's going to happen is then we're going to get the reset back to here. And then you go back to trying to slow push hit the wave back to your tower and then perma-freeze in front of your tower if possible, right? But it's just rinse and repeat, right? Like if we get the reset back to here, right? Like just off center, last hit, slow push, slow push, slow push. As soon as we get past this point, then hard push back into the tower, let the tower reset back to here, and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Okay, does that make sense? So like you're minimizing the amount of time that I want to minimize the amount of time that I'm standing in this zone, right? Like The only time I'm standing in zone is when I'm hard shoving this into tower. That's like the red zone where I'm like, okay, I'm gankable. But as soon as you hard shove into the tower, then you come run back here and you just kind of stay in the safe area, and then you wait for the lane to reset. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then you last hit. Okay, we're gonna slow push. Boom, rinse and repeat. So that's what you want to do if you're ahead. For him, he shouldn't be. He should, like, the problem with him is, like, he's completely screwed. Like, the thing is, like, I'm at 3 minutes and I've made a huge mistake. I didn't even ward this brush, right? Because in my brain, I'm like, okay, at this health, I know with Teemo, this is a guaranteed kill. I can flash ignite, auto Q, auto him right now, and he's dead. So what I'm trying to do, I get one more auto off, and I'm trying to kind of bait him up. So I'm like moving a little further away, and I'm trying to bait him so he can leech XP. And as he comes forward, I'm just trying to get to a point where, like, if he walks even one step closer, he's in my flash ignite range, which is also my auto range. So, like, he's dead. So I'm just waiting for him to make that mistake. And this was like months ago. I had like some pretty bad bloodlust at this point where I'm like, I just want to get this kill. Obviously, I'm getting ganked now, right? Because they're like, Teemo is way too close. So basically, I just try and salvage. I'm going to just salvage the kill. I flash in, get the ignite. Just make sure you trade here, because this was bad, right? From their point of view, I got first blood, and I got a trade. So even though I died, I got the first blood. So, like, they actually came out behind on that. So what's going to happen, I know, is the Lee Sin's going to clean that up. And what's the Lee Sin doing? Setting up a perfect lane for me, right? There's 3 caster minions. Look how big his wave is. See this? It's his new wave and my new wave, so we're even. Then you've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minions. So I'm like literally just like super pumped about this, because by the time I get back to my lane, I'm set up for a permafreeze right here, right? Mm-hmm. So always be thinking about wave management. And on top of that, this Darius has 6 CS, I have 14. He's going to be wanting to get as much CS as possible while I'm not here, so that because he knows as soon as I get here, I'm going to zone him off all the creeps, just like he's doing. Like I've trained like a well-trained dog. He's literally left the lane because he knows, like, if he comes near me, I'm just going to poke the shit out of him. So, by the way, this is why I love Teemo. So, look at this. This is the absolute ideal freeze. It's right outside of turret range, right? I don't have to do anything but sit here. So you can see me, if you watch me now, I'm just going to last hit. I'm not going to attack any creeps unless it's the last hit, because I've got a permanent freeze set up. So what he's doing is I need to start attacking as best I can so that I can break the freeze. So I'm going to start attacking to kind of match his attacks. But at the same time, he's melee. So if he tries to come and break my freeze, I'm just going to free poke him. Free damage. So he's got to use his abilities to try and farm at a distance. But what I'm trying to do is just mirror. Right? I'm trying to keep as many. So right now, I'm at a little bit of a deficit. I had like 1.5 creeps, right? So I can't set up a permafreeze because I've only got 1 melee. So this is going to be a slow push. I know that now because my wave is coming in and his wave's coming in, and I've only got 1 melee, which means it's going to be a slow push, but like a really slow push. So my job is to just now last hit, slow push my way back to this brush, and then hard shove that massive wave that I build into his tower, and then reset again. Okay? Does this make sense? All of this? Mm-hmm. I'm not going too fast or anything, right?
I understand.
Okay, yeah, I just haven't heard from you. I just want to make sure you're... Okay, so cool. So this guy is getting sick of it, and he thinks I'm just going to try and trade with this guy, and he makes a totally fatal error. You can't trade a Teemo with blind. Like, he's literally doing no damage. I get a free kill, and now I get to try and set up my permanent freeze again. But now, I asked you this question before, but you're me in this situation. I just got a kill on my lane opponent. There's 4 creeps here. There's still, I think, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 from my old wave, and another wave coming in. What would you do?
Hard push to the turret, let the turret kill my minions, and then go back for the soft reset to right behind their turret, or right off center, so that I can try and get back for a permafreeze towards my turret.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly right. So what do? I hit 6, I hard shove. As hard as I can, I throw my shroom down. I just clear this wave as fast as I can, and as soon as I do that, recall. Recall and buy. So, this is also very important. You want to time your backs for the I don't know if you do this now or not, but as soon as you kill someone, the ideal time is to go back as soon as he goes back, so that you come back to lane at the same time he comes back to lane, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So like when I see him with like 8 seconds left, hit B and then use the C key to bring up the shop so I can get started
Yes,
back.
yes. And so, like, obviously at the very early stages of the game, the death timers are so low that you're never going to be able to time it exactly right. Especially, like, what takes priority is shoving this lane. Like, I could have just backed right when he died because his death timer is like 10 seconds. And then I would have been back to lane when he came back to lane. But then the wave would have been frozen just about here, right? And that's really bad. So what I want to do is sacrifice the efficiency of back timing to get this wave shoved into tower. Look how many minions he's going to lose, right? Like he's going to lose all 10 of these. That's XP and gold, whereas I got all of that gold hard shoving it. So that's a huge, huge, huge advantage that you get. So as best you can, try and time your backs with him. And this is in every lane, by the way. This doesn't apply to just top. This applies to bot. This applies to mid, and very much applies to top. So what I'm going to do is I get back to lane. I know he's probably just about here, right? And I know when I get to my my inhibitor tower, he should be back to lane. So what's going to happen is I'm going to think, okay, I know what he's going to do, right? He's not going to set up a permafreeze because I know he's not capable of it because he's a bad player and I've seen him not do it. What he's going to do is he's going to say, oh my god, free minions because Teemo's not in lane. He just backed. I'm going to try and hard shove as hard as I can and get as many creeps as I can before he comes back, which means he's going to hard shove back to my tower. So typically what I want to do is I have time to take the gromps, right? Not gromp, I'm sorry, the golems. So what I'm going to do is the XP and gold you get from golems is equivalent to one wave. Okay, so I'm literally missing nothing by doing this, right? So the wave that I would potentially miss in lane, I mitigate by taking the golems. Look what's happened. Just like I thought, he's hard shoving because he knows I'm not here to poke him, so he's just trying to get as much as he can. Now he's hard shoved his wave back. Look at the size of his wave. This is the makings of a permanent freeze right here, right? And what did you miss? You missed literally nothing. Like, he killed our minions so fast, they didn't have time to kill enough of his. So we've lost 2 minions. That is it. So we've got all of these minions, all this gold, not to mention the next wave that's going to come and freeze. So the problem with this is it's actually too many. So the mistake I made was not recognizing soon enough that this wave is too big. I've only got like 1.5 minions left against his 7 or 8. So I should have thrown a shroom down and probably just nuked out like half of his wave there. But instead I was just auto attacking, and I tried to move up here to try and freeze the wave, but like, you know what I mean? Like if and this is a tactic you should use with Malphite with his passive, is try and eat your shield. If this case, like, remember this scenario in the future because it will happen to you. If you can, stand up here right outside of turret range and just eat the minion aggro, and you'll freeze the melee casters right there and just wait for your wave to come in, right? And then you can run to your tower because the melees will switch focus to your creeps, and then you've got a permanent freeze. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Reason I didn't tank that is, like, look at that. Like, they all attacked me twice and I lost like a ton of health. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to let them crash into the tower. I'm going to last hit. And since this is stalling because there were so many, I'll still get the freeze. See? Mm-hmm. So there's 2 options, right? Like, either way you slice it, you're going to get the permanent freeze, right? If there's too many, you can just let it bounce off and we'll still get it back here in a favorable spot. Or if there's the perfect amount, then you can just perma-freeze like we talk about. So again, he's like trying to attack, and we've still got a permanent freeze. I got the three caster minions, and I'm not trying to attack any of them. I'm just letting him live. So right now they're pushing towards his lane, which is bad. So this is just going to be a slow push situation for me now. So we've got the advantage on the creeps. So again, just don't hard shove until we pass this point, right? So we're in the rinse and repeat mode. So rinse and repeat. I'm safe because I'm on my side. This Lee Sin comes in, tries to gank me. I don't dodge that, but If I had ignited him here, I think I could have killed that. Ooh, boy, here we go. If I ignited him here, I could have killed him because he hits that shroom. And look how much damage I do to him. He takes one shot, auto Q auto. Ignite would have killed him probably. But I could have turned that probably into a 2-1. But anyway, so this is kind of the strength of Teemo, by the way. Or really just being ahead in lane. You can see he just hit level 5. I'm level 7. So I just had a 3-level advantage on him. He's got 25 CS. I've got 48. This lane is completely over. You know what I mean? And the only reason it's over is because I managed the waves correctly, right? Yeah, I got a kill, right? First blood, but so did he, right? Like he got a kill off of that too. But if he had managed his wave better, he wouldn't have been getting dominated so hard and like fighting so hard for CS, right? Like if he permafreezed in front of his lane, Teemo is notoriously bad at escaping ganks. He's got no escapes except for like a move speed boost. So if he freezes here, all he has to do is call Lee Sin in, and I'm dead. So at higher elos, that's what's going to happen. So this is gold 4, and these guys don't really think anything about wave management. But the reason I'm winning this lane and crushing him so hard is because of the wave management. So like I'm just sitting here, I'm last hitting. I know I've got a huge wave against his, but last hit, last hit, last hit. And as soon as the next wave comes, it's hard shove time, right? So like this is a bad spot. I don't want it to be here. So I'm just gonna. You can see me start attacking every creep at full health, but then I get ganked and I just run the hell away from there. So if I did stay, I would have just tried to shove that out. But Galio tried to be cute and come around, but he's retarded because I saw it, so I could just run through the river. So anyway, that's my point, right? Like the reason I saw that was because I was checking my mini map, right? I wasn't checking my mini map while I was doing this VOD review. So like my character in game actually ran before I knew I was going to run, which is actually kind of interesting. That's a good thing to point out. Does that make sense? All of that? Okay. So I'm going to show you another video here. This is actually, I don't know if this is going. Yeah, I'll show this to you anyway. This is more of like a Teemo focused video, but this is going to give you exactly why attack moving is incredibly important. Do you attack move or focus on attack moving?
I try,
orb
but
walking?
I'm still just learning it, so I'm not very good at it.
Okay, so here is the quintessential example of setting up attack move and then executing attack move. Okay, so we've been trading in lane. Okay, we're still both level 1. He's melee, like semi-melee. He's got Vorpal spikes, but I'm ranged. He's melee, right? So, sorry. Okay, so I know that he needs to get really close to these creeps to kill them, right? And I'm ranged, so I don't need to. And every time he attacks a creep, I'm going to attack him. It's a free trade, and that's called the trading stance, and that's something we were going to get into before. But my point is, look where I'm clicking, right? Like you can see my move clicks. I'm clicking over here, right? And he's trying to auto attack me. Why am I clicking here? Why? Did you tell me why you think I'm clicking here?
Get out of his attack range so that you can get CS without getting a bad trade.
No. So his attack animation is going this way, right? And I'm already over here. I don't need to be any further away from it because I know it's going this way. So I could be over here and be safe, right? But the reason I'm moving here is because I'm looking into the future about 10 or 15 seconds, right? I'm thinking, okay, he's made the mistake of walking too far forward. I'm going to be all inning him right now, and I'm going to attack move. So you can see, I attack and then I click forward. I attack and I click forward. You see that? You see my clicks in game? One click on him. As soon as, oh boy, did I just crash the game or I just crashed YouTube? Fantastic. Shit. It doesn't like it when I go slow motion that way. Okay, anyway, my point is I was thinking into the future, and I was thinking, okay, what I'm going to do is he's made the positioning error of being greedy and trying to get one creep, so I'm going to punish him by getting as much DPS as I can. And if it takes a fraction of a second for my auto attack animation to go off. So I have to stand still for a little while, right? So if he just straight runs away, which he has to do because he doesn't have the ground stomp or any other form of CC, he has to straight run, beeline it back to his tower, and I know that. But if I'm standing here while he starts the beeline, I'm only going to be able to get about 2 auto attacks off before he runs out of range of my auto attacks. So I have to attack move, but not only that, while I'm attack moving, it's still going to create a bit of a gap, right? Can you imagine that in your brain? Like, as you're auto attacking, you stand still for a little bit while he's still beelining. So even if you're attack moving, it still creates a gap. So I want to minimize that initial gap as much as I can. So as soon as I see he makes that mistake, that's why I start to move over here. Because if I'm already starting out over here, that means I can get so much more DPS, right? Because, like, you know, I'm here, he's here, I auto attack. I move up a little bit. I'm here, he's here, I auto attack. I'm here, he's here, I auto attack. I'm here, he's here, right? So I've gotten an extra 1 or 2 auto attacks, and that's why, Jesus, YouTube literally just shit its pants. I can't even press play on this anymore. Note to self, don't do that again. All right, let's see if I can pull it back up again. But does that make sense? What I just explained to you there? Attack moving and why I positioned to where I did?
Yeah, because it can help you get out of unfavorable or avoid unfavorable trades, and at the same time make favorable trades for yourself. Exactly
right. Well, actually, it doesn't really get you out of unfavorable trades. Like, attack moving is literally just an offensive idea, unless you're running away. Like, if the Cho'Gath is chasing me, you got to run away, right? But you have to be auto attacking him as you run. So, like, I'm running this way, I auto attack. I run this way, I auto attack, right? So you're trying to create space, but you're also trying to put down damage. That's called attack moving defensively and away from you. But in this case, I just wanted to, and we'll just play this through, right? You see that? So this is the point. I see him running towards that creep. I see what he's doing, and I immediately position myself to try and get this attack move, okay? Just as much DPS as I can. And look how much chunked he is. You know what I mean? As soon as I hit level 2, I can murder him. So all I'm trying to do now is hit level 2 as fast as I can. I get 1 more creep, I get level 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he needs 2 more creeps. So I hit level 2, now I go in. You see that? I go straight for him. I go, okay, you come anywhere near me, I'm just going to murder you. But I know he's got positioning errors. I know he's made mistakes just for CS before, so I think in my head, okay, I might be able to save my flash and just wait till he positions wrong. By the way, this is another very big concept is once you've got such a big advantage, you zone him off the wave by standing behind his caster creeps, and now he's getting no XP. Not only no gold, he's getting no XP either. So just standing here is zoning him completely from XP. So that's an important concept, just wanted to point out. So now he's got level 2. I'm thinking, okay, auto Q auto. This is good. I've seen him get really greedy for farm before, so I think I can just kill him now. So yeah, boom. He's literally that I could have killed him right there by igniting him, but I was waiting for my Q to come back off cooldown. Now I've got my Q. Now I'm just waiting for him to try and kill a creep. Like maybe this one here, I could have gone in on. This one here, he could go in on. So I'm just waiting for him. And oh, I took it. That was a mistake on my part. But again, he's making so many mistakes. Look at that. How greedy he is. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Oh, no. Such a noob at YouTube. This is terrible. We don't want to watch Korea. We want to watch me. All right, so let's jump back. All right, so again, I'm waiting for my window for him to make a mistake. I think he was going to go for that creep, but instead he ground stomps. I'm like, all right, next time is this minion here. So hit the ignite. Still, I get his flash too, which was kind of a lucky break. And now, what's the plan? What do I do now? What's the plan?
Shove to the turret really hard and then give the creep reset.
Yeah, and then you back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly. So what do I do is what did I not take into account? Well, what did we not talk about is teleport. So Cho'Gath took teleport. I'm not going to have time to shove this all the way to his tower. By the time I kill the rest of those creeps, he's going to have TP'd back to lane, and I'm not going to be able to go back and buy anything. So I killed just some of them so that my creeps start to slow push. So you can see I've got 4 creeps. He's got 5. So he's slow pushing back to my lane. So if he decides to roam, it's fine because eventually it'll be able to be freeze back. And if he comes back to lane and tries to hard shove, which I'm sure he's going to do, I'll be able to get back to my lane with a massive minion wave on his side, right? So that's something that you also have to keep in mind is if they have teleport up and available. So hard shove if they don't, but if they do, just thin the wave and then let him hard shove back to your tower because it leaves a lot of creeps for you to get, and you can reset the wave back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, wave management. Very simple. Very simple. I'm going to show you, well, I won't show you that one. Okay, I was going to show you one more, but that's Teemo. Really just the Teemo related one. So I hope after all of that, the theory and then the application, you got a pretty good idea of wave management, how it pushes, how it pulls, and how you freeze it. You think you got a good grasp on that? Do you have any questions about what we went over?
No, I think I got it. I just need to start kind of putting the stuff that we've gone over into practice and trying to get it down into just like memory, just doing it instantly without thinking about it and stuff like that, and adapting into my games. And
yeah, that's the only way it's really going to get drilled in is when you see it in practice. Like the theory is one thing, watching it in a VOD review is another thing. And then obviously like that's step 1, I think, and step 2 in my opinion, and then step 3 is obviously implementing that in your game and then making sure you get a feel for how the champs that you play push and pull waves, okay? And then using your abilities, try and also while you manage your waves, think about how you want to use your abilities, like the Malphite ground stomp, right? When Malphite does the AoE clap, his W, and his Q, right? Each of those will push a wave faster or trim a wave faster depending on how you use it, right? So try and think about that too, because Malphite's kit's a little different than Teemo's. I showed you Teemo's, but like, say you're Malphite, and you've got this is the minion. It's like been slow pushed to your tower, and there's like 9 minions. If you went in and hit WE on this minion, you'd AoE all of them, right? That's not something you want. You want to set a permafreeze. So you want to make sure that these guys are safe, 4 of the casters. So you walk up to this minion and you go you go W, you go EW probably, right? And that's going to AoE these creeps, right? And then you kind of leave these 4 untouched, right? So it's not as efficient if you're trying to clear the whole wave, and people get uncomfortable with that because they're like, well, what the hell? You're not going to hit these guys? Well, no, you don't want to, right? You want to set the permafreeze. So think about your abilities as you're playing too, and think about what's the most efficient way to, looking at the wave to trim out some of these creeps. Does that make sense? And I miscounted. So trim out some of these creeps. So anyway, I gave you like a lot of things to work on and a lot of things to think about. So, don't die. Hotkeys and thinking about, I don't know if we even talked about this, but before you go into a game, when you're in the loading screen, think about not only the matchups, but how your team comp synergizes and what your role in the game is going to be as Malphite or Shen. Who you need to focus on protecting, like who's going to be fed, and then also if a team fight erupts, are they a poke comp where you want to force team fights, or are they a team fight comp where you don't necessarily, and their team fight comp is better than your team fight comp, so you want to avoid that and maybe set up split push scenarios. But just start to like theory craft in your head and make sure you just start to think. Also, once you got a decent idea of what your team comp's going to do, then think about your lane opponent and how you're going to beat him in lane, where you want the wave to be, and then try and pay attention to, okay, is this guy a hard shover, like a blind hard shover, where no matter if he sees a creep, he's going to attack it, You know what I mean? Like at low elo, that's what people's mindset is. Like I see a creep, I need to kill it, so they're gonna hard shove. But you're the smart one now, and you're gonna think, okay, he's hard shoving my creeps. I'm gonna hard shove his creeps at the same time because I've got my 4 melees and we're gonna permafreeze, right? Or if he's last hitting smart, you're gonna start last hitting smart at the same time. So that's my suggestion to you. I know we just literally we just hit the 2-hour mark on this lesson, a little longer than I'm sure you expected. But if you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up on Skype and ask me anything you want. If you want me to do a lesson 2 with you to go over the stuff that we didn't get to, you can go ahead and do that too. Do you have any other last questions before we end the session?
Not really. You've answered all the questions that I've had and pretty much more. So I really appreciate your time, and I'll definitely schedule another lesson so we can kind of go into more in depth into the general laning space and stuff like that. And
Okay.
I really appreciate you. I mean, you don't have to sit here and give me ideas on how to play this game. So I appreciate you very much just being willing to do this. And
Yeah, absolutely, man. No problem. So here.